Hey everyone, it's Finch here. So I'm back for another probably 30-minute recording, roughly, maybe a bit less. We're gonna try and go through A minus and B plus. Gonna spend a bit less time on each individual Pokemon because these are getting more niche as we go down, of course. But I still definitely want to go through the intricacies of these Pokemon, why they might be used, why they're decent, why some are probably lower than you expect or higher than you expect, etc. So let's start with the A minus. First thing is noting is I think that the first big drop off is between A plus and A, and then there's another big drop between A and A minus. I think that S and A plus bleed together a bit more than any of the others we've seen thus far. But from here on, I got phlegm in my throat. I'm kind of sick right now, but it's kind of a free fall, I'd say. But A minus Pokemon that have a place on common archetypes but are closer to niche picks than staples, or Pokemon that are often encountered on less consistent type of teams, such as Cheese. Um, So, for example, Kieran Black is mostly seen on kind of like Dragmag or like those like Tailwind Weatherless offensive teams right now. And it's a good Pokemon, but it is mostly seen there, and you're not going to see it on sand or very, very rarely on rain. So, therefore, it's hard to justify ranking it much higher because you only really see it on those teams. And fuck, I've got a call now. I got a phone call. Anyway, sorry, just had an alarm go off my phone to remind me of that. But anyway, then you have Pokemon like say Mienshao, which definitely not a staple. It never really was, but at one point I'd say it probably was A rank, if only because it saw a lot of usage as a quick scarf user on sand balances during like say SPL 8 time, back when the Jade, Solwyn guys dominated Black White. And I'd say Mienshao now it's taken a clear step down, so it's an A. Honestly, you could probably rank it below a couple of these guys in A minus too, but I personally like it as it is there. Minsha's still okay. I know a lot of people, especially in Northeast, were telling me that they don't think it's great, but I think there's definitely a place for it. I just don't think it's a big place. Anyway, so yeah, Mienshao just isn't as good as it once was, so it's fallen off a bit, and it's more of a sporadically seen Pokemon on these sand balance builds now. And so I guess that's a good segue to say, let's talk about Mienshao since it's the first in A minus. I personally believe that Mienshao isn't a great Pokemon right now, but it's a pretty good one. So the Scarf set is easily the best and most common set. It runs High Jump Kick, Hidden Power Ice, usually Rock Slide or Stone Edge. I think Rock Slide is the one that it goes with, and also U-Turn. You can, however, see like Toxic in that slide as well. I've even seen like Grass Knot for like 2 killing like Jellicent to like 70% or whatever. I don't know. It's not great. It's okay with spikes if you get the prediction right early, but it's super niche. But yeah, no, Mienshao, it's nice. U-turn, regenerator. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. The thing is that it's so frail, and the alternative Scarfers such as Landorus T, Garchomp, Landorus T, Garchomp, Latios on Rain. I mean, Tyranitar, freaking Rotom Wash. Just go up the list. I mean, you see Excadrill. Yeah, that's the one I was forgetting. That's big. Excadrill's big. Keldeo on Rain. I mean, etc. They're just kind of more common and better than it as Scarfers. Mienshao fits a very specific mold of this like Tyranitar plus Amoonguss plus Skarmory kind of teams, and on those it can be pretty good. There was a team I used against PG and I think that's probably about as good as you're going to get with a Mienshao team right now, in my honest opinion. But now that you see even more of this like Nicholas like fat fuckery, and I mean hell, you're even seeing more of Slowbro / Slowking and Jellicent to pop up as of late. I mean, it's just really hard to justify using Mienshao as your Scarfer on other teams. I would still use it over some other Scarfers, like say Scarf Balloon, which is a complete cheese pick in my opinion, and also, sorry, I just changed position. Probably can hear some background noise. Also, Scarf Draken, which is garbage, besides beating Volcarona, as this also does, by the way. But yeah, Mienshao's okay, but it's not great, and it's not going to be seen on a lot of common archetype teams. Just very specific variants of it. So that's kind of the epitome of an A minus Pokemon in my eyes. Mienshao, it fits right in here. So yeah, moving down the list, another Pokemon that has most definitely seen better days. But on the flip side, it might be actually a bit better now than it was a couple months back is Hydreigon. And I mean, Hydreigon is seeing better days arguably now because it kind of does take advantage of Reuniclus in a sense. The main thing is what item to use on it is kind of awkward because like you want to be able to run a Roost, but like Leftovers Roost is so weak, and Life Orb Roost in Sand, like you're taking so much damage whenever you attack. And then Specs is great, but then you take like an HPS from Reuniclus and you're fucking like halfway dead. Like longevity just isn't there, so getting in is hard. So it's kind of caught in like this awkward crossroads in terms of how to get the most out of it when you're using it. But it's definitely viable. Very much so. You just have to be kind of particular with it. I'd say it's a pretty nice pick that use on balance teams to kind of break open other balance teams, if that makes sense. I know that Taunt Roost set was used a lot to beat old metagame Sun. Not really the case anymore, not necessary, but was cool. It was probably A at some point back like a year and change ago, but not anymore. And no, I still think it's a fine option. It's really threatening, and it's not vulnerable to Pursuit like Latios, which is a huge, huge, huge plus. The Dark typing instead of Psychic typing, that's quite nice. Of course, that does leave drawbacks. Breloom can revenge kill you. Tracheon and Keldeo both own the shit out of you. Yeah, and it's also slower than Latios, which sucks in itself. You're never going to say, oh, look, it's a Hydreigon that's as good as Latios. I might as well interchange the two. No, Latios is always a better Pokemon, but there are some times in which you can justify using Hydreigon. I think the only time I used a Hydreigon officially was against Jimmy Churchwig in World Cup 2014. Yeah, let's go with that. Might have been 2015, but one of those in Black White. I think it was 14. But yeah, no, Hydreigon's fine. Not amazing, but it does the trick. A couple viable sets, vast move pool. Definitely can do some damage, that's for sure. Moving down the list, we see two Pokemon. I think a lot of people will say, in my opinion, I underrank, but I find them both to be on the cheesier end of the spectrum. First and foremost, Dragonite, in my eyes, only really has two sets that you can run with any semblance of justification in team building right now. I think that like all these like mix sets, like the old spec set that the Shung and Sugar had used, like the fucking Para Shuffler set, I think all of those are like so niche to the point where like if they were individually ranked as sets, they would be like C minus or C. So I wouldn't really I don't really factor them in. I'm not big on them. Sure, there's some surprise value and that's cool, but nah, not big on them personally. But anyway, getting back into the swing of things. Dragonite's two sets would be Choice Banded and the sub Dragon Dance Roost Dragon Claw set. Multi-scale Abuser, it works okay with Magnezone, I guess. Some matchups it can kind of just win, but others it's pretty useless. It doesn't have a ton of defensive viability, especially because you like can check like Keldeo that doesn't have an ice move, sure, but then you're risking Scald Burn every time. Yeah, I'm not too big on that Dragonite, especially since like Bloom just sleeps it. Like sure, I could check it, but you just slept, so you got to have another Sleep Talker for that, and then take Rocks plus like a Focus Punch and a Switch, and you're already fucking in Mach Punch range potentially. So yeah, no, it's not a great check to anything, Dragonite. But the Choice Bandit set has a lot of defensive utility in terms of revenge killing with extreme speed and muscling through things with a strong outrage or superpower. And it can also run Sleep Talk for Breloom. So personally, I quite like the Choice Bandit set. I don't think it's easy to argue for it to be much higher, though, because it's got a pretty specific niche, but it's still a really threatening force to be dealt with, I would say. Sorry, just checking my phone. Okay, yep. But yeah, no, so the Choice Bandit set I'd say falls into the category of more niche picks than staples that can fit onto common archetypes. It has a place there, whereas the subset I'd call more of a less consistent cheesy option. It kind of fits into both sides of the spectrum in A minus. I think you kind of can define it in both ways. Um, so yeah, Dragonite is always going to be pretty good, but not great in Black White nowadays. Back during Black and White 1, it was definitely one of the best Pokemon in the tier. Even into Black White 2, I believe it saw a lot of time in the spotlight. The Dragon Dance set was just such a potent force to be reckoned with, and then you also had a number of other sets. All things considered, Dragonite has seen much, much better days in Black White, but it's still okay. It's still fine, and this is probably the last generation that's ever going to be overused. So yeah, I mean, might as well enjoy its time in the spotlight as it lives in eternal borderline and moving forward with its buddy Staraptor, unfortunately. Anyway, on top of Dragonite, I have it equal to Tornadus, and I think a lot of people would say, "Why is Tornadus so low? Tornadus is so great." But I mean, you think about it, Tornadus has really fallen off over the last year, and it's still a ridiculously threatening pick. But the fact of the matter is that Tornadus, in terms of nature, is a complete fish, and it's not a bad fish pick. But I mean, like, think of it: if you're facing Rotom W plus Tar or Stray Jirachi, then it's gonna be like compressed to do damage early on in the games that's consistent enough to justify using it when you specifically have to cater towards getting it in when it's frail and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely always going to be pretty good. It's threatening, a nice rain option, but when you see more consistently threatening picks like Thunderous pop up more, and you just specs Latios and Rain and Keldeo, I mean, it's just hard to justify using Tornadoes a lot. I faced two of them in SPL because people decided that I didn't bring good flying resists on my rain teams, which is actually fair because I just try and outplay it on my rain teams. But one of the guys I brought freaking Rotom W plus Tarverse, the other guy I brought Sunverse, so it went 0-2 against me, needless to say. Yeah, Tornadoes just isn't a great pick. It's an okay one. It's kind of more on the cheesy side of the spectrum in terms of what you could use on Rain, alongside stuff like Toxicroak and Gyarados in my eyes. And I'm not saying they are cheese themselves because they aren't, but they're more inconsistent than the options that are ranked above that you find on Rain teams. And in some matchups, you could certainly justify that, especially if you have a specific lure or supporting variant. But you're not going to see Tornadoes rack up as much usage as Thunderous or Latios or Keldeo on Rain teams in a proper environment, I would say. And given that, I think it's ranked right around here. I mean, it's pretty much about as viable as Dragonite in my eyes. Anyway, moving down the list, Slowking. Slowking's a good pick, and you notice it's right near its buddy Slowbro down there. Slowking's just a bit better in my eyes because, especially defensive presence, is really nice in the metagame, especially given how psychic heavy it is. Latios, you can sort of check, at least pivot into to open up for Tar. Keldeo, Heatran, you could kind of do nice against if it's not a toxic variant, which is really appreciated. I mean, you're still able to 1v1 Terrakion. Oh, actually, it's a lie. I don't think you kill. You don't kill it. Yeah, no, never mind. Um, you're able to pivot into a lot of hits though. It's really nice against Rain if you could burn or use Fire Blast in the Ferrothorn, I would say. Slowking's just an underrated Pokemon in general, and not a lot of people know how to use it, I don't think. I'm going to go right to Slowbro now and say Slowbro is very similar. In fact, you could probably argue that it should be like right below or even equal to Slowking on a good day. It's really good against these like ground cores. In fact, you know what? Fuck it. I kind of want to move Slowking down to where Slowbro is, honestly. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I'm doing it. Okay. Equals Slowbro. So yeah, Slowbro. I'm gonna hit Mammoth, Kieran Black, Mew, and Jellison. Do not worry. But yeah, Slowbro is a physically defensive alternative. It's really nice against stuff such as Landorus, Excadrill, Mienshao, Garchomp. That's not mixed, of course. It doesn't get decimated by Pursuit, which is quite nice. Still a decent Keldeo check, and with some special defense investment, you can potentially check Alakazam, especially for a Thunderwave variant, which is what I ran in Finals of World Cup. Just a nice defensive Pokemon in general. It's a nice tank. I quite like it. Pardon that. Just kind of evening this out. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I quite like it. Moving the mouse off. Oh, there we go. But it's hard to justify using these guys a ton because they do potentially open the door for Tyranitar or Ferrothorn or Rotom Wash, and Nicholas sits all over them. So right now they're not at a high point, but they're a decent point. They're definitely very viable. But it's hard to sing much praise beyond that. Unfortunately, just because they're not the most consistently used options, I would say, which makes them fall pretty much into the lower depths of A minus, without much hesitation from me, anyway. Next up, Mammothwine and Karen Black. So Mammothwine is just like anti-rain offense and other offense, like in sand offense, because Ice Shard is so fucking threatening. You see like Landorus, Latios, Tornadus, Thunderous, Garchomp, etc. on these teams, and Ice Shard's just so threatening, and then Earthquake decimates everything else. Like that happens in a lot of matchups when you make use of the Mammothwine, so that's pretty big. And Karen Black, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. It's just fucking strong ass tank, ice type that nukes the shit out of like bulkier teams with like Choice Band Outrage and Fusion Bolt, and they could clean teams with Tailwind or Scarf. But yeah, I mean, they're both like kind of shaky options that require some support, or maybe just don't do that great in some matchups or have like a large opportunity cost, but flourish in others. And I think that's kind of why they're both on par with each other in my eyes. I think if anything, Trent Black might be a bit better, but Mammoth Line is like really, really, really good against some teams. Like it just kind of makes playing against them impossible. Because once like something takes like damage in the Ice Shard range, and it revenge kills pretty much everything on these offensive teams with Ice Shard and shit. So yeah, without further ado, we're gonna get our way down to Mew and Jellicent, which is gonna be the last Pokemon we discuss in A minus, because I've already done Slowking and Slowbro, as you guys heard just a minute ago. Mew. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna pause for a second and I'll get to him. Sorry. All right, I'm back. Sorry. So Mew. Generally speaking, it's used in the Stall Breaker role, with the taunt. Ice Beam usually could be Side Shot, could even be Nightshade or whatever Seismic Toss. Plus Will-O-Wisp set. Recovered, of course. It can run some speed, or it can run mostly physically defensive. I think you only need like 4 or 8 specially defensive EVs to assure you live Specs, Latios, Draco, once you have max HP. So yeah, it's pretty good in that role. But you could also see it running Nasty Plot, which Ojama made use of. This SPL and Solon did a number of years ago. Really love that Ojama team, this SPL. One of my favorite concepts. But yeah, that aside, Mew is just okay, kind of good, but not great. I mean, it's hard to use consistently. And Jellicent, well, I mean, if you ask APR, for some reason he thinks his mon is like the shit, and like it's good because it blocks Tentacle. Like I'd be fine moving it up a bit above this, but I just don't think it's great. Like I feel like there are ways to pressure the things that Jellicent stops without compromising as much as you do. And Jellicent is just a bad metagame pick otherwise. I mean, it enables all of the wrong things. Like let's go from the top just to make an example of this. Like Tyranitar, okay, could burn, or it's kind of like 50-50. Latios, Dragon Pulse still kills. Draco kills after rocks usually. Pharaoh, it's a bit of a 50-50 if it's whip. Garchomp you can't switch into. Keldeo can toxic you. Landorus Chi can't switch into. Politoed toxic to encore you. Reuniclus Thunder and then eventually beat you. Amoonguss, it's kind of an awkward scenario, but if you burn it and get Nightshades off, it's kind of cool. Extra can switch into Jirachi. Really awkward interaction, depends on the sets. Skarmory, okay, you shut down, especially if you're faster. Gliscor makes a dick out of you if you're not Scald. And if you are Scald, it doesn't even do a ton. Rotomosh annoys you. Alakazam depends on the set. Tentacle, you dick. Yeah, sure. Breloom dicks you. Tran, depends if it's toxic. Otherwise, even Magma Storm's kind of annoying. These two thunder you. Dragon can break you. Magnezone, like, it doesn't really, like, serve a definitive enough defensive purpose to justify using a ton, in my eyes. Like, it's hard for me to actually use Jellicent consistently. And I feel like others just use these fat teams with it and just rely on their opponents being bad, and then they win on that merit. And that's fine. I mean, BKC is one of the best people at building teams that beat the average player, but I feel like in a higher level gameplay, Jellicent isn't as good. I feel like crushing on Jellicent just isn't great. I mean, it's good if you were to have more choice Keldeo right now, it'd be better, but there just aren't. And I think there should be more. And then there should be more Jellicent as a reaction to that, admittedly. But until that's the case, it's just not going to be the case. And I don't know. That was a really stupid sentence. And until that's the case, it's just not going to happen. Anyway, that's the end of A minus. Let's get to B plus really quickly. Got to go in like 10 minutes. Volcarona is just cheesy in this gen, and it's also even worse this gen because common Scarfers are like 100 plus, and then there's like Track Down and Tentacle and Rain, the Dicket, Party from like Dragonite, etc. So yeah, Volcarona is just the really cheesy Pokemon. I mean, full on niche Pokemon are cheese staples, and that's basically what Volcarona is. Chansey and Gothitelle are on par. Chansey's kind of like the wall you'll see on all stalls, whereas Gothitelle is like the trapper you'll see on most stalls. Chansey's probably a bit more viable in honesty, but yeah, they're both pretty much cheese Pokemon. Ninetales and Crest, I mean, do we need to say more? You see like Sunstall all the time. Just kind of a really inconsistent but high ceiling playstyle. Toxic and Gyarados, I'm pretty low on both of these guys. Gyarados is kind of cool though. People have been exploiting it in different ways lately. Toxicroak is just kind of at a low point right now, especially with Reuniclus being all over. But yeah, they're both kind of cool rain options that aren't great. They're very niche in my eyes. Subcroak used to be pretty good, and Gyarados never was great in Black White, but people have been using it as like Scarfer, which I think is kind of weird. And then like Dragon Dance, which is okay. It actually kind of sweeps opposing stall teams if the Ferrothorn is not present. or has doesn't have whip, and so on and so forth. Bronzong, you've been seeing in a lot of these like Bronzong Magnezone like kind of builds. I know Pasho likes those, and it's kind of anti-metagame and cool. But if the team comes prepared for it, or if your faces rain, then it's at a really big disadvantage depending on the rain team itself. And the way is to tackle Bronzong. I feel like it could be a dead away Pokemon. So yeah, large opportunity cost, kind of niche Pokemon. Again, that's just kind of the theme for B plus. That's why I'm not spending a ton of time on these mons. Scizor is just bad in black white. I rank it up here solely because a lot of people rank it higher for some reason, like Scarf and offensive Swords Dance can clean out more offensive teams, admittedly, sure, but not great, never will be. Fortress and Zatu, I don't think either is great, but they kind of played a similar role on some teams. You see Zatu on one and Fortress on the other, the two big Sun teams. So yeah, they're kind of cool in that regard, but I wouldn't use Zatu on any other type of team. And a Fortress, very sporadically, like the team Zom used in Smog Tour Finals, for example, it was a pretty bad team in my eyes. It crunched so much on like facing specific stuff and getting a specific matchup with like the Fortress Toxic Spikes plus Tran. I feel like that kind of thinking of Black White's just way too linear for any form of consistency, any semblance of consistency in the metagame. And so I wouldn't use it. But I get players who are more trying to like fish using it just because, I mean, it's going to work out a lot of the time. I don't know what to say. Like, just Fortress is kind of bad in general. Yeah, and Zatu is just not a great Pokemon, but it does what it needs to on Sun, that's for sure. Both of these do. Then Latias, which one's like Subcom Mind every now and then. It's just a worse version of the Dragon Dance Sub Roost Dragonite set I mentioned before. And I mean, it can run Healing Wish, but yeah, I wouldn't advise using it in that role. And then regular Kurum, Sub Roost specs, it's very mediocre in my eyes. So yeah, that's the extent of B plus and A minus. Really rusty B plus. If you guys want in the comments, I could go through B plus a bit more next time. Because those are 2 weeks I got to go soon. But just let me know in the comments about that, and I'll get to it then if need be. But otherwise, that's the gist of A minus and B plus in my eyes. So yeah, thanks, peace.